Hey, what's up everyone? So today I'm in the Grow Paradise greenhouse and I'm going to talk to you about a bromeliad. And interestingly, up until about 1937, as recent as that, this plant was cultivated as a filler for things like mattresses, cushions, car seats, and I can see why. It's really spongy, but with the development of synthetic materials, this isn't really cultivated for that purpose anymore. But 1937, that's not that long ago. Now, when I say bromeliads, you're probably thinking something a bit like this one, which is Freesia era, and you wouldn't be wrong. This is a bromeliad, and these are very common in habitats around the world. Or you might be thinking about something like this one, an air plant. Now, this is Tillandsia, and this is in the same family as the bromeliad that we're going to be talking about today. Behind me is a curtain of Spanish moss, and this unusual prehistoric looking plant is a bromeliad. Now, this plant, although it's called Spanish moss, is neither from Spain or a moss. It is a bromeliad, believe it or not, and it's native to Mexico, South America, Central America, and places like the Caribbean, anywhere that's got a warm environment, and usually somewhere that's a bit wetter, because this plant in its natural habitat drapes off of the branches of enormous trees like oak trees and cypress, where it will catch ambient humidity that's in the air, in the environment, and any rainfall. Now, the foliage of this amazing plant is covered in tiny hairs and scales that helps it to absorb any moisture in the atmosphere. And we can grow this in countries that aren't as warm as South America or Mexico or the Caribbean as a summer plant outside, and we can grow it indoors as a house plant for the rest of the year. Now, things that make Spanish moss or Tillandsia usneoides very unusual is the fact that it's completely rootless. So you don't need any soil to grow this plant. So if you're someone that likes to keep your house tidy but wants to grow houseplants and low maintenance houseplants, this one could be for you. It does flower, but rarely in cultivation. You can actually see, I saw on here earlier, a seed pod. So the flowers emerge at the leaf axils here. So each one of these coming off of the main stem is a leaf, and then in the axil you get tiny purple flowers. And this here is a seed pod that's just developing, and when it opens up it will be packed full of tiny, really tiny seeds, and they're so small because they've evolved to be carried on the wind. So when this plant is growing, hanging off the branches in warm countries, and that seed pod opens, the wind will carry those seeds to its next host tree where they'll germinate and slowly grow into a plant like this. Now, the flowers are small and purple. I've got lots of old flowers, but typically none of them are in bloom when I'm doing this video. And it's just super easy to grow. My tips for growing Spanish moss would be drape them like this using a bit of wire, like I've done here, just tied around the top, and then you can hang it from anything you like. Make sure there's good airflow around each clump. You don't want them to be so packed that all that moisture just causes rot. They need good airflow because, like I say, in their natural habitat, the wind just blows through these. And good light. They need bright light because where they grow in their natural habitats, places like I say, the Caribbean, there's going to be a lot of sunlight. And they are very easy to grow like that, and they will thrive. Now, watering is going to be a bit different because, like I said, they don't have roots. You don't grow Spanish moss in a pot. So the best way to water it is using rainwater, because you don't want to build up of any of the nasties that might be in the tap water wherever you're growing your plants. So use rainwater or distilled water, and you can just spray it over the foliage once a week, and that will keep them really happy. If you see them shriveling up and getting really small and dry looking, drier than they look now, then that's the time to give them a spray. Maybe a bit more in really hot weather. Or alternatively, you can just take the whole bunch down and dunk it into a pot of rainwater and leave it there for 10-15 minutes, even up to an hour, and that just gives the plant time to soak in all of that water, all of these beautiful silvery leaves will fatten up again and it will be ready to hang on display for another week or so. It really is a great plant, an unusual plant. And if you're into propagating plants, Spanish moss is one of the easiest plants to propagate. You get yourself, say, an end like this, grab a pair of scissors without dropping them on your feet, and that's it. You've started a baby clump of Tillandsia usneoides, or Spanish moss. And you can just get a bit of wire or string and tie it around this top section here and hang that, and then this clump will continue to grow, just the same as all of these. Now these are about 2 or 3 feet long at the moment. If you get this plant in its kind of best state, really happy and healthy, they will grow to longer than 3 foot. But to be honest, it's nicer to have fuller, shorter clumps than it is to have long clumps that are draping down to the floor. And I love to grow this plant outdoors in my tropical style garden in the summer months. It's just super easy, and it's another one of those plants that's just going to add an extra dimension to a tropical style garden somewhere that isn't as warm as the Caribbean, but it will make you feel like you're stepping out somewhere super warm and exotic as soon as you step out of your back door. So definitely one that's worth a grow. Now, some of you might already be growing Spanish moss in your gardens or in your homes, and I'd love to see pictures of how you're growing yours. So don't forget, we've created a gardeners forum at www.growparadise.social, where you can create a free account, join communities there and share pictures and ask questions and answer other people's questions and just give advice. And you can share your pictures there, so I would love to see how you're growing Tillandsia, Spanish moss in your gardens. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to hit subscribe if you're loving the content that's coming out on the Grow Paradise channel.